pieces of siding everywhere.
This storm is hitting very close to home for this Olympian here. Well, the neighbors get inspired to renovate too. MoDOT will be holding a public meeting today to talk about plans to widen Highway 65 here. Bond, James Bond books and comics. They're turning human waste into safe-to-use fertilizer that looks just like this. As you see a church steeple here, a firefighter down here. Well, they responded after lightning hit the steeple. This woman, she came out of the hospital. Check out what she's wearing. She's still in her gown, and she's saluting as that procession goes by. All right, happening right now, the northeastern United States is getting hit with this major storm. You see the reporter and photographer there driving through the snowy roads. From Philadelphia to Boston, people in the Northeast will see everything from snow to soaking rains, high winds, and flooding over the next 2 days. Details also on the childhood of the man accused of the Florida mass shooting. First, though, breaking news. Arkansas State Police have issued an Amber Alert for a missing one-year-old girl. Narcan went on shelves in Missouri pharmacies for anyone to buy 1 year ago today. We could hit a heat index near 100 this afternoon. A traffic stop in Oronago turned into a pot bust. The Oronago Police Department says it found almost a pound of weed Monday night. An officer pulled over a driver for expired plates. The officer says he then smelled weed. 3 people in that car got arrested on drug-related charges. This right here is John McCain's desk in the U.S. Senate chamber there. You see the flowers on the desk. A series of services and ceremonies honoring Arizona Senator McCain will start tomorrow in Phoenix. Right now, the tribute's just pouring in from his colleagues. McCain died over the weekend from brain cancer at the age of 81. Colleagues shared emotional tributes on the Senate floor Monday afternoon. Meantime, the White House has once again lowered the flag to half-staff. The president kicked off a controversy with veterans groups yesterday when he wanted the flag raised. Trump later reversed course, signed a proclamation ordering the flag to be flown at half-staff again until Sunday. I visited Moore Bend and Taney County to investigate how the community is coping and what, if anything, is being done to fix the problem. The views are stunning in Moore Bend. It's surrounded by the waters of Bull Shoals. But there's one big problem. The tap water.
I don't drink it.
There's bottled water, jugs of water everywhere. And if you want to wash dishes, you better add a disinfectant, or you could get sick.
I put bleach in it. There is bleach in my water.
And if you want to brush your teeth, you better grab this. The state issued a boil water order on February 5th, 2013.
2013. We were just informed.
Celia and her neighbors get their water from 2 wells. The wells are under these small white buildings. The state says it issued the original boil water order due to E. coli, or fecal bacteria, in the wells.
I got sick, got plumb down.
We're paying for a product that's total crap.
The state even gave the water system a cleanup plan a couple years ago. But the residents here never thought it would happen. Now they've built up 4 years of skepticism. And by the way, the water bill's gone up in that time too.
After they raised the rate, I couldn't even afford to water my chicken. That's all I used it for. If it's bad water, it's not even good for the chickens.
State regulators eventually filed a complaint. It could lead to fines. In testimony in this case, a state examiner had this to say: Moore Bend has failed to properly test the water supply to its customers, has failed to provide adequate documentation concerning chlorination, has failed to properly notify its customers of the boil water order that's been going on for so long. And the state says the water system has cast iron pipes, causing discoloration of the drinking water.
Oh, it pisses me off to no end. I mean, it's not right. It's not right. How come it's taking so long to do it?
We wanted to talk to Moore Bend about all these issues.
Hi, Paul Adler from KY3.
But they hung up on us twice before saying no to an interview. In case documents, Moore Bend's lawyer denies the state's allegations. The company also says bacteria levels no longer exceed state standards. But the people here aren't buying it. They're just paying for it.
But their minimum charge is $38 a month just to have their E. coli water. We have the privilege of paying for it.
Moore Bend, beautiful, peaceful, but if you visit, here's the advice. Don't drink the water.
I mean, we've fallen through the cracks here, I think. You know, it's like nobody cares. There's not enough of us.
We've asked the State Department of Natural Resources several questions about this case. Right now, we're waiting for their answers. Meantime, the latest filings in the complaint against Moore Bend indicate that there may be a possible end to this long saga. The state and the water company will meet for a hearing on April 27th. We'll update the story after that. A detective mission tracing the water from one stream and finding out where it goes.
Fluorescein.
That's the stuff we're about to pour into this creek. Fluorescein is a dye that will turn Hampton Hollow bright green.
Okay, now I'm going to pour it in the water here.
This non-toxic dye can solve a mystery. Where does that water go when it sinks into the ground? Right there.
It's a very effective way of tracing.
You might think that you'd find the dye in the stream, but really you find it with one of these. This is a charcoal packet.
It will absorb the dye and retain it. In this packet, there's over an acre of surface area. We often see salamanders here in the shaft.
Tom really wanted to know the answer to the creek's disappearing act because he owns this cave just 800 feet away from Hampton Hollow's sinking stream of water. What is this that we're seeing right here?
This is we call it the first waterfall zone.
Tom Ailey bought Tumbling Creek Cave in 1965. He wanted to establish an underground lab, a move that had some former coworkers wondering if he was a mad scientist.
It has a lot of physical diversity. It was in very good condition, as it still is. And I was fortunate enough to be able to buy it. This is the big room.
170 feet below, nothing mad is happening. Instead, it's all science and study.
Yeah, we have a few different probes set up in there.
Scientist Nathan Keith is measuring Tumbling Creek's oxygen, temperature, pH, and more.
So this is the actual data logger itself.
Tracking the health of the stream is a way to protect the unique species down here, like a one-of-a-kind millipede. Tom named it after himself. It's called Ailey's millipede. From their study, they know that what happens above does not stay above.
It's an out of sight, out of mind kind of issue where they're not worrying about it. Well, down here we see that it's not out of sight.
Very little water is this kind, the kind that gets filtered in a slow drip way. Most of it races down here in waterfalls and in Tumbling Creek. We'll explain the importance of knowing that in just a second. First, remember those charcoal packets? There are a bunch down here.
We strip anything that's adsorbed onto the charcoal.
Back on solid ground, we're heading to the spot where that disappearing stream reappeared.
This is a mile from where we put the dye in the ground. It didn't go to the cave.
While the results from our study aren't ready yet, Tom knows where the water popped up from a previous dye trace.
It went to the well that was down here.
And that water did not get filtered. It raced through the ground, carrying the parasites from the manure that the cows used to leave along Hampton Hollow. That's why the well is now sealed up. Would you say the old well was dangerous to people?
Sure, because in the karst system, it's a lot of wide open passages that does not filter out materials like the cryptosporidium.
Tom hopes his studies here keep those little cave creatures safe, and us too.
In the long run, we're part of this ecosystem. If the ecosystem is not protected, then that's not good for us either.
Tom does recommend that you test your well water once a year if you're using a private well. When the latest dye test comes in, we'll let you know also if Tom found any surprise.